First of all, I want to thank you, everybody, for being here. It's the last session. I know you're all tired. I'm tired myself. So let's try to go through all the topics. And what faster than 20 minutes? I will try. But what I want to ask you, if you will have questions, please do not hesitate to ask immediately. Okay? Just raise your hand, ask. Let's do a discussion because it's a workshop. It's a workshop, not a speaker hall. So let's try to do a workshop. Who I am, it's a short introduction was done already. I'm a Chief Compliance Officer for Admiral Markets Group. Admiral Markets is a multi-licensed company. We have 4 licenses, Cyprus, UK, Australia, and Estonia. And the KYC is the main challenge, I would say. I think it's for all of you. For all companies, KYC now is for compliance officers, it's not the best thing because the business is measuring KYC, but you have all other things. You have MiFID, you have GDPR, you have everything. But KYC is something what you can measure in time, what you can measure effectiveness. So everybody is trying to do KYC fast, more effective, cover all the markets. The problem what we have had in Admiral Markets is that we had many different providers, and my team is team of 8 persons just involved in the KYC. I mean, just daily checking documentation, doing it manually. So this is my dream. Get ID is my dream. It's how I'm trying to solve my problem. So I mean, I will try to describe you how we reach here. I will try to share some insights what I found out myself. I mean, the researches what I did. So I will try to do it useful for you. I will not sell you anything because I'm not a sales guy. I mean, I'm compliance. I'm chief compliance person. So yeah, okay, sorry. It's more about regulation, less about sales. Those are the questions. We can discuss them at the end of the presentation, but you can share during the session as well. I mean, what are the challenges you face? It's a lot of challenges. It's regulation, it's technology, it's a lot of different things. Do you have unique provider? Raise your hand if you have unique provider for all the markets. I think I can see any, so you face the same problem as we do. We seriously try to find unique provider for all markets, but no, it's not possible. They are all good. They are all good in something specific. But they don't cover Middle East, Asia, and Europe, and Latin America. I mean, you need to find different sources. So far. Government. It's a lot of communication in government as well. I mean, when you're setting up the services, I mean, we are communicating with ISIC, Estonian regulator. You need to look to all regulation around you. It's advisory as well. If you're trying to go to different markets and you're thinking how to identify your clients, please take a look to local regulation as well because it's really different. Even in Europe, what I can say, I mean, we have MiFID, we have AMLD4, we have GDPR, but even how Estonia and how Latvia is implementing those procedures is super different. Seriously. Lithuania as well. Even language is super different, I mean, regulation. KYC data exchange is another dream what I have. And it's slightly becoming real, but this will take more time because I will explain you later. Shortly about Estonia. Someone knows Estonia? You've been in Estonia before? I know there's some of my colleagues been in Estonia. Okay, nice. Actually, it's nice countries, small countries, e-country. We call it e-Estonia as well, but because it's a lot of e-services. You can do everything online. You can fulfill your tax application online in 5 minutes. Can you believe it? 5 minutes, tax application done. I mean, tax returns and everything. I mean, you can vote online as well. I mean, you can, for your mobile phone, you don't need to go to 12th of December, we will have voting. You cannot do it here in UK, but you can do it in Estonia. So maybe you need to move there. Digital signatures, e-residency, but still, we have a lot of problems with KYC as well in Estonia because of all those money laundering scandals. Maybe you heard about Danske Bank, about Swedbank lately. I mean, so it's also challenging. If you're setting up your KYC process, you need to constantly monitor the regulatory framework or situation because For example, in Estonia, we had quite, you can see up to 2014, it was like developing. After all those money laundering scandals, now we're becoming more tough. I mean, we are requiring more. So it's becoming difficult to do business in Estonia. I mean, it's not that online anymore because of banks are afraid of money laundering. Admiral markets I already described. It's 16 countries. It's regulations. So we have experience. I did the research for all those markets, how to identify what are the measures to apply. And I could not find any single verification source. There is a lot of companies now today, not in that conference, but in our conference, saying you that they can do everything for everybody, but it's not true. At least I, being a compliance officer, I could not find any. Yeah, we did a lot of researches, how to find unique solution. And still, so we started to developing our own. What I found out is there is a lot of governmental initiatives in different countries. This is maybe something what you've been thinking about as well. For example, in Estonia, you can identify clients with ID card. Or, for example, in Finland, they are developing SISU-ID. It means like, it's quite the same like ID card in Estonia, but it's in Finland. Singapore, Switzerland. Every government developing something to be like Estonia. I think so. But the problem if you are a broker or you're a small startup, I mean, to implement all those things is super complicated. For example, you want to take clients from Estonia, I mean, and you want to implement digital signature. It's difficult. We try to do that, but it requires a lot of effort from your IT. It requires a lot of understanding of local regulation, and it works only for Estonians, or only for Finnish, or only for Singapore, Switzerland. I mean, this is an option. If you, for example, want to go to Estonia, you can use this one. But if you want to be global, as all brokers here wants to be, I mean, it's not a solution. It's my opinion. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. You can have different opinion, but my opinion is that you can research that. Just write down. What we found out as well is that it's a huge problem all around the world that there is a lot of people who have no any identity. They don't have documents at all, or they don't have documents that may confirm or verify. You can verify this. For example, they have, I can bring you some examples. Middle East, proof of address. It's very difficult. For example, there is no addresses in some countries. There is big families living in one address, and the utility bill is done through the one person, but you have 100 person living in this village. What to do? It's difficult. Yeah, I mean, it's also a challenge. But what we also found out that, and you all know that this identity is actually all around. Banks have it. The Facebook, for example, it's also what I want to share is there is a lot of companies nowadays who is helping you to find the verification sources for identity using different, I mean, unusual verification sources. What you did not got used to, because the ID card and the utility bill is something what industry been used to do for years. I mean, you ask your ID card, you ask utility bill, but it's time consuming, but it's practice. But what you can use, for example, I mean, now is a lot of startups whom we are, I mean, negotiating as well, who are using, for example, Facebook data for verification. I mean, you're using Facebook, Facebook knows where you are, with whom you're communicating, I mean, where you're checking in, and so on. This is also the data what you can use for KYC, because regulators doesn't say that you need to do 1, 2, 3. You need to find sources to verify. And sometimes sources to verify may be slightly different sources. You need to think a bit wider. It's not only ID and utility bill. You can find in other sources. And a lot of data actually stored in different organizations. What we're now trying to do as well, its EU project is that to create a system, or we are participating in this, into the projects where the information exchange between the different organizations will be launched, or let's say approved by the governments. It's also something I think what will be in the future, because now all brokers, all the companies, we have something, but we are not sharing information. Client need one more time, again and again and again, identify himself. He's presenting the same ID card, the same utility bills in different organizations, but they all have it. For example, tax board, banks, insurance companies, everyone. And what I can say you that, for example, in Nordic or in Baltic countries, there are many governmental initiatives already in order to create the standard for exchange of information. That if you already verified in one organization, it may be used within our organization. This is something what's going on, what's happening now. And we're also taking a part in those projects. Just what you should think about. This is the future. What we researchers as well is all the different regulations around the KYC. There is a lot of different standards. There is a lot of different guidelines what you need to look at. If you're, for example, going to Germany, you need to look to BaFin. If you're going to Estonia, there is guidelines by Estonian organizations. Austria, everyone have own specific. What I can advise you as well, I mean, if you're going, for example, if you're trying to provide cross-border services, you need to look at the regulation. How is it possible to apply your home state regulation in your market, or you need to look at the regulation of the market you're going in. This is also for your lawyers, or for you to think. I mean, if you're trying to be global, you need to look to very different aspects. And this is also important. I mean, not all the time you can apply your home regulation. I mean, if you're doing something in UK, sometimes you can do the same in Germany, because in Germany you need to use ID now or video or post-ident. I mean, this is also for you to think about if you are trying to be global. Documents, super different as well. I mean, many companies, for example, what we faced is that many companies just relying on the comparing of the MRC code with the data on the document. But sometimes it doesn't work because you have, for example, ID card in Thailand that doesn't have MRC code. So you need to find different verification sources, different means to verify the documents. In Thai, for example, you can use governmental systems to verify the documentation, but they are all different. Again, it's not possible, was not possible so far to find the unique verification source. So those are the problems what we faced, and researchers what we did. Different regulation, different documentations, different specific of the legal requirements. We started to research now. It's actually a lot of companies who is trying to sell you something in order to solve your problem. If you start to look in KYC providers, you can find the thousands of companies who is actually trying to sell you something, trying to tell you that they are solving all your problems. But so far we could not find any single. You can see the market trades now as trends. It's 2014, it's around 40 companies. 2023, it's already 100 now. It will be. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting market. It's a lot of newcomers, but you always need to look to the technology what is behind, because what we have seen is that sometimes it's a lot of companies who is having the beautiful web pages. They are promising a lot, but actually it's just the air. They're not actually doing something. They're all good companies. They are all good companies, but they are specialized on something specific. Something specific, specific market, specific documentation, specific regions. So you always need to think, I mean, what you actually need. And the problem with those companies, I mean, this is the main rule what you need to keep in mind. 2 + 2. Please try to remember that. 2 + 2. Many companies here is offering actually a lot of different checks, a lot of different sources, but I can assure you that you don't need all those sources. You don't need all those controls in all markets where you're going in. You need just 2 plus 2. This is the conclusion what I did when I did the research for all those markets. If you look to the CISIC regulation or UK regulation or you look to Estonian regulation, the basic rule is that you need the 2 data, for example, name or birth date, and 2 verification sources. You don't need all this to verify address. Address is just one of 2. You can use name plus address. You can use name plus date of birth. And it's really similar for all the markets. ID plus utility bill, this is something which was common practice. It was easy to do. You ask name, you ask address, you ask ID, you ask utility bill. But now we see that if you are not, it's very difficult to operate now in Europe because of ESMA, because of GDPR, all other rules. So many companies are going to Middle East, to Asia, and utility bill is something what's really complicated. As I mentioned, Middle East, utility bill not possible. So you need to find other verification sources. And you need to choose. You need to look at and understand yourself what you really need. Because what we faced before, I mean, what we experienced is that we've been doing too much. We've been controlling too much. But actually, 2 plus 2 is the main rule. So what we did, a bit of promotion at the end. We created our own solution. Own solution combining all those different verification sources and giving ourselves chance to, to choose market by market which checks or which verification sources we need. For example, as I mentioned, we need 2 plus 2, so we're taking document. For example, we take name, address or name plus date of birth, and we're verifying with 2 sources, and that's it. And the same can do you. I mean, you don't need all those checks what you may be doing. You may need those checks if you need to apply EDD for your clients. I mean, more risky countries, more risky clients, you may need more verification sources. But the basic one is 2 plus 2. This is our conclusion. Yeah, this is our dream. I mean, we really working hard on that. We will implement with us. I recommend to check. It's interesting. Seriously, I'm not trying to sell something. It's something what will hopefully make my life easier. I'm really hoping. That's why I'm sharing, not being a sales guy. I feel myself confident and comfortable describing that because, it really helps all the people around. Questions? 2 plus 2. Please try to remember 2 plus 2. Please look at the regulation if you're going to the different markets. Always ask for legal opinions sometimes if you need it. It also helps a lot. Our experience is that sometimes good legal opinion may help you a lot. The same utility bill. It's also a lot of legal work behind. I mean, if you want not to ask utility bill, consult lawyers. It's also something what I recommend you to do. I mean, always going to some market, contact local advisors. Sure.
Sorry, my name's Steve Namey. I'm just wondering what the product will actually bring to make your life more comfortable, as you say. What features do you particularly consider will make your life more comfortable as a compliance person?
What features?
Yes.
As a compliance person, I want to have confidence. If I'm trying to think from the business perspective, for me it's important to those things to be done fast. This is important from business perspective. From the compliance perspective, for me it's important that the things, what I'm doing, is okay, but from the regulator perspective. if I'm onboarding UK clients and I'm doing those 2 checks, I want to be sure that FCA is happy with that. I want to be confident. This is what is important for me. That's why I mentioned your legal opinions. That's why I mentioned your experience and so on. This is important for me. I want to be confident. And this is a system I'm confident in. What's your experience? What's your problems with KYC? Maybe someone wants to share something in your companies.
I think with the FCA and the Brexit, everybody right now, every single regulatory body is now making up their own rules and their own what they want and what they need. There's no uniform standard anymore. With KYC, as you said, it used to be 2 + 2. I don't know about anybody else in the room, but as you're a global company, it's like I need this for this country, that, and as you say, there is no one product out there that can be multi-diverse.
Maybe I will describe a bit more detailed what we did for us. I mean, I'm not saying we will do exactly the same for all markets, but we're trying to create for ourselves the system that I will be able to choose. For example, if I see that it's not anyhow possible, for example, to do verification in Lithuania without video. In Lithuania, they want to have video element, this short video of you doing selfie. I mean, so I need to have feature to include this one for Lithuania. This is something,
that's what you're saying. It's different for each country, and that's a problem from an IT background and a global company. We've then got to switch this on for probably 10, 12 different, 12 regulatory bodies have got their own, we need this, we need that. So it doesn't matter how we do it, we've got to use so many different KYCs that this is the problem that needs to be solved, as we need a uniform all the way through that.
We still have the same problem, but I mean,
I need a KYC team for one country, I need a KYC team for another. There's nothing that can literally switch on and say if it's this country, it's that country, this
my
happens.
experience is that we have one team, but we have different sources. We have, I can promote a bit, we have GB Group, Yuma and others, I mean, but they are using different sources for different countries. But so what we try to do in order to simplify is to combine them, to aggregate them, to have unique interface for the KYC team, because before it was like 8 different interfaces for different markets. So this is something what we're trying to do.
That's what we need, is just one integration.
Exactly. This is what we're trying to do. Yeah, check this one. It's actually, I mean, we're still developing it, but it's something what I believe will help me, because again, and my people, because it's different. It's a lot of, it's large problem that people do mistakes. I mean, if you have a lot of countries, a lot of regulations, a lot of different companies helping you, I mean, the people can do mistakes, and they are doing mistakes. I'm doing mistakes, so that's why we need to automate. This is something what we need to move at. I mean, find the different sources and single place.
I mean, it's going in the right direction. It's brilliant away from just having to upload documents now. This
you
is
are
the
right.
way it needs to be.
But you are right. It still will be different, because in some countries, for example, you still need to identify your client face to face. I mean, it's still in many countries, still.
So when are you guys going live?
We're actually already live. We're adding things step by step. You can check the sandbox. We can share with everybody who wants to try. The idea now is to give people to try and to get the feedback. I mean, it's sandbox solution. I mean, you try, you give feedback, you think it's not right, you tell us, we try to fix. I mean, it's not about like to make you buy something. It's more about why I'm now here. It's because I want to hear the feedback. We want to hear the feedback. I mean, from the clients, from the different. It's our experiences, 4 regulations and 16 countries. But definitely, you have more experience than me.
But how far away do you think you are? I mean, this is something. I presume. I mean, it's real topic. We'd happily buy a solution if it was readily available right now. So it's kind of more of a question. Do you think it's a year away, or No.
We hope it will be done tomorrow, but I mean, I think it's month 2. But again, we already have something you need to look at and give you feedback. It's depend again. I don't know who you are. I mean, what you are doing, what markets you're interested in. I mean, it's.
So I run a deliverable effects company. We do B2B payments, cross-border payments. The majority of our clients are in European Union. And as you say, well, it's kind of businesses that we work with, and behind every business there are shareholders, directors,
Sure.
and in order to onboard them, it's kind of again every time different process, and to check the business details in different registers, it's like it's quite cumbersome. So that's why a uniform solution would be of great help. And right now what we do is essentially like for different countries, you go to different compliance service provider.
Sure. For some things, I think you will still need something so far in addition. If you're saying about, for example, UBOR, because I have no idea how to automate UBOR checks. It's real UBOR. I don't mean like owner in the register, but UBOR. I mean, who is the real owner? I mean, this is something what you will need to do yourself still. But what goes to those basic checks, what may be automated, you need to take a look and give us feedback. If you think something needs to be added, let us know. Okay? Thank you. Anyone else? Something? If not, thank you very much. Thank you.